David Hume was an 18th-century Scottish Enlightenment philosopher, historian, economist, and essayist, known for his influential system of radical philosophical empiricism, skepticism, and naturalism. Let's explore the core themes and ideologies of Hume's philosophy, his key works, his influences, and his legacy. First, let's explore empiricism. Imagine a scientist who only believes in conclusions drawn from experiments and observations, not from abstract theories or speculation. Hume was a staunch empiricist, arguing that all knowledge comes from sensory experience. He believed that our understanding of the world is rooted in what we can observe and experience directly, rejecting the notion of innate ideas proposed by rationalists. Next, let's discuss skepticism. Think of a detective who questions every piece of evidence, refusing to accept any claim without substantial proof. Hume was highly skeptical of many traditional philosophical concepts, such as the existence of a self, causality, and the justification of inductive reasoning. He argued that our belief in these concepts is based on habit and custom, rather than rational justification. Now let's examine the problem of induction. Consider a farmer who assumes that the sun will rise tomorrow because it has always risen in the past, even though there is no logical necessity that it must do so. Hume highlighted the problem of induction, pointing out that we cannot rationally justify the assumption that future events will follow past patterns. This skepticism about inductive reasoning has had a profound impact on the philosophy of science. Now let's explore bundle theory of the self. Imagine a bundle of sticks tied together. The bundle exists as a collection of sticks, but not as a single unified entity. Hume proposed that the self is not a single unified entity, but rather a collection of different perceptions and experiences. According to Hume, what we call the self is just a bundle of sensations and thoughts that are in constant flux. Lastly, let's dive into moral sentimentalism. Think of a community where people's sense of right and wrong is shaped by their feelings and social interactions rather than by strict rules. Hume believed that moral judgments are based on human sentiments and emotions rather than on reason alone. He argued that feelings of approval and disapproval form the basis of our moral decisions and that reason serves only to inform us about the consequences of our actions. Now, let's look at influences and inspirations, starting with empirical tradition. Imagine a builder who relies on concrete, observable materials to construct a house rather than speculative blueprints. Hume was influenced by earlier empiricists like John Locke and George Berkeley. He extended their ideas by applying a rigorous empirical approach to human understanding and skepticism about metaphysics. Next, Enlightenment rationalism. Consider a scientist who uses reason and observation to explore the properties of new elements, even while questioning the foundations of established knowledge. Although Hume was critical of the rationalist approach, he was deeply engaged with the intellectual spirit of the Enlightenment, which emphasized reason, scientific inquiry, and skepticism of traditional authority. Now let's review key works of Hume. A Treatise of Human Nature, Hume's comprehensive work on human psychology, epistemology, and ethics, where he lays out his empirical approach to understanding human nature. An Enquiry Concerning Human Understanding, a more accessible version of the ideas presented in the treatise, focusing on epistemology and the nature of human cognition. An Enquiry Concerning the Principles of Morals, Hume's exploration of moral philosophy, emphasizing the role of sentiment. Dialogues Concerning Natural Religion, a philosophical dialogue exploring arguments for and against the existence of God, showcasing Hume's skepticism about religious belief. Now, let's discuss legacy and influence. First, empiricism and skepticism. Think of a magnifying glass that helps reveal the details and limits of what can be observed and known. Hume's rigorous empiricism and skepticism have had a lasting impact on philosophy. His ideas influenced later empiricists and philosophers of science, including Immanuel Kant, who famously credited Hume with awakening him from his dogmatic slumber. Next, moral sentimentalism. Consider a compass that helps navigate moral landscapes by pointing to human feelings and social practices. Hume's moral philosophy, which emphasizes sentiment and social context, has influenced contemporary ethical theories, including emotivism and moral relativism. Lastly, his influence on modern philosophy and science. Think of a seed that grows into a vast tree, branching out into various fields of study. Hume's work laid the groundwork for modern psychology, cognitive science, and the philosophy of mind. His analysis of causation and induction continues to be relevant in the philosophy of science and epistemology.